Hi, we are in Massachusetts and have an in-ground gunite pool and hot tub. It's 11 years old. It has never been repainted and it needs it. What is the best paint choice for this? It was acid washed last year before opening. I'm looking to sell the house this year, so I'm looking for the least costly option.
Well, I'm never one to encourage someone to paint a pool versus the plaster that's there. But understandable if it looks really bad and you want it for the looks for the sake of the next customer that owns the home. Painting is not a bad idea. However, in my opinion, you kind of do a disservice to them because the pool is good for several years and then it's a disaster for the rest of its life. Because what happens with paint, you can follow all the steps perfectly, and there's a few different paint manufacturers out there that all have their list of specifications of how to do it, how long it needs to stay empty, how long it needs to be dry, and all of that. And even if those are followed perfectly, water chemistry plays a factor, nature plays a factor. In a few years, that paint starts to chalk. And when it starts to chalk, it always chalks. Customer can repaint the pool if they want, and it's going to chalk again, and repaint the pool again, and it's going to chalk again, and it just ends up being a disaster. Ultimately, you could do it, and it would be for them on the short term. Then what they would need to do is have the surface sandblasted and get that paint off so it could be replastered. So ideally, it would be replastering the pool, but if not, what I would do is I would suggest having it done, or make sure you do an awful lot of research in terms of what the process is. There's a few paint suppliers out there. Ramuc, RAMUC, is the most popular. Now they have rubber-based, latex-based paints, and they also have epoxy-based paints. That's also a deciding factor in terms of how you prep the pool. And then make sure if you're going to sell the house, save the paint can and write on it, do not throw away, leave it for the next homeowner so they know what you used. Because here's the other problem, is if you just go find something and you paint the pool, it might be 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the road. That homeowner's got to figure out what you used, because you can't just use an epoxy-based paint over a latex or rubber-based paint. You have to be really careful with that because they just don't work together. So if you do paint it, I would highly recommend, to make it easier for the next people, is leave the can, and maybe with instructions on it or something saying, don't throw this away, you're going to need to know what it is because eventually you're going to have to repaint the pool. So in terms of manufacturers, I'm not one to tell you which is better than another. I think that you just need to do a little due diligence on it, and if you can afford to have someone else professionally do it, I would do that. However, most, and I mean most, pool companies will paint your pool for money, but they're not really good at painting pools. And what I would do is find out, if you're going to hire someone, make sure they've done it successfully, ask some leading questions about their track record of having done it, and then do it that way. If you're doing it yourself, make sure you follow by the letter all of the instructions that are given with that paint, because if you do, you've got a better chance of it lasting longer.